The US is screwing up, and this could be really good for cryptocurrency. I want to talk to you about the de-dollarization that's happening right now, some de-USAization, or basically these exchanges moving out of the US. Some big news that's been happening over the last few days. I want to cover that along with some of the other top news in the market. If you don't mind, please hit the like button, hit subscribe, and turn that bell notification underneath the video. For everyone that wished me luck at the climbing competition yesterday, I appreciate it. My wife and I did pretty well, so cannot complain about that. Also want to say a couple great offers here for you. First of all, Webull offering 12 free stocks when you sign up and deposit any amount. Moomoo, 15 free stocks. TradingView, underneath the video, giving you $30 off when you use that link. That's where I look up pretty much all price charts. And then also there's a 15% off deal on Trezor Model T right now. So definitely check out those links underneath the video along with the link to the Patreon in case you want to know what I'm buying and selling. Now, Bitcoin has moved up a little bit over the last few hours. We're down at 27.3, 27.2 earlier this morning. And crypto in general, I think, has moved up a little bit. Still down on the last 24 hours, but it's looking better a little bit. Now, why did we start falling down? Well, I think there are two major reasons, or two possible reasons. First one that's obvious is just that there have been a lot of liquidations. We moved up pretty quickly. People got greedy. We had 134 million worth of longs liquidated in the last 24 hours. You can see the green bars are long liquidations here. And it's just a lot of people getting liquidated. I mean, we're talking about 262 million one day, 112 the next, and 173 million the next. So people got liquidated, and then they thought, okay, we took a little dip. Let me go long again, and go long again. And then, they just keep on getting wiped out. The other possibility is the fact that the U.S. government holds a large amount of Bitcoin. They've been talking about how they're looking to sell, I believe it's around 30 or 40,000 Bitcoin this year. So they could be selling some on the market too, seeing some weakness. Overall, though, Bitcoin's holding up decently well, right? We had this increase a couple weeks ago, and we retested around 26.5 and then moved up, and we're above that now. So that's great. The next possible line of support around 26.5, and then the next one is around 25.8, which is the 200-week moving average. A lot of people, though, think that we are not going to hit new lows, that we are in the start of the next bull market, and that the year before the halving, they're really excited about. They think we're going to continue moving up. Now, that could be the case. We have a big week coming up this week. We have a lot of earnings. Here are some of them right here. You can see a big day, even Monday, Coca-Cola, Philips, Whirlpool, some big companies there. But then we have Verizon, UPS, GM, McDonald's, 3M, PepsiCo, Microsoft, Alphabet, Enphase, Visa, Chipotle, a lot of big companies there. Boeing, Meta, Roku, Teladoc, then American Airlines, Caterpillar, Southwest, MasterCard, Snapchat, Amazon, Intel, a lot of big tech companies announcing earnings this week. So be on the lookout for that. Again, GDP as well, first quarter GDP, and PCE inflation. So we have a lot coming this week. The market is probably going to be volatile, but we've been seeing a shift in the market that I want to cover that has been pretty momentous. Obviously, there's been some weakness in the banks recently. Now there are reports emerging that Argentina's central bank has run out of US dollars and started using customer deposits of US dollars. Inflation running hot at 104%. It has suspended operations for Monday, apparently. It's happening. Now, I've been trying to find other articles that have said this. I'm sure that they are, I'm sure that this is probably true, but I'd love to hear more about this. Obviously, if U.S. banks and European banks are in hot water, there are going to be other banks around the world that have the exact same thing happening to them. The whole banking sector is, I don't want to say in shambles, but is very dangerous right now. There have been some governments that are backstopping the banks, basically making sure they don't fail, but they can only go so far. So I'd be on the lookout for this, right? There are more banks and more banks collapsing. Obviously, SVB and Credit Suisse have collapsed, and it seems like everything's getting better. Let me say that. I don't think this is as bad as it was a month or two ago, but this is a good selling point for crypto, and we're starting to see some de-dollarization as well. At the same time, we're seeing some banks collapse and people worried about the U.S. government being able to backstop the U.S. dollar. and continue to hold up the banking system, we're starting to see some de-dollarization. And I saw another post about this earlier, but Saudi Arabia may join de-dollarization shift as the US dollar is now unreliable and dangerous. This is a professor saying basically de-dollarization is very important for the international community because the dollar has been used as a weapon by the US against different countries. It is unreliable and dangerous. And this is interesting because at the same time, the government here in the US is really going after crypto instead of maybe giving up some ground, but also being able to shift attention to crypto, maybe be able to control it a little bit more, regulate it, kind of nurse it into what it wants. Instead, the SEC is trying to crush crypto. We saw this week when Gary Gensler could not answer whether Ethereum was a security. He doesn't even hold crypto, even though he taught full lectures on it. Imagine talking about crypto for hours and hours and hours in front of people and never having done a transaction. While other countries are legalizing it, are making it much easier for people to come in, build their businesses, trade crypto. Ukraine moving towards Bitcoin and crypto asset legalization. Ukraine is taking a major step towards legalizing crypto assets as it plans to adopt the recently passed markets in crypto assets (MiCA) regulations from the European Union. Now, of course, Ukraine has already said basically that they're cool with crypto. I think this is kind of dotting the T's and crossing the I's, vice versa, right? This is basically just making sure that it's really obvious what kind of regulation there is. They go into a little bit more detail here. MiCA is the result of long efforts of European policymakers to introduce uniform regulations and create standardized rules for crypto assets across the EU, as crypto businesses are currently required to adhere to 27 district regulation frameworks across EU member countries. The implementation of MiCA is expected to enhance the competitiveness of startups in the EU, which could lead to a rise in their market share as compared to unregulated competitors, which makes sense. There are a lot of unregulated exchanges that are doing really, really well. But this is basically just going to make it so it's easier to work in a lot of these different countries at the same time, which makes sense, right? It would be hard. It would be like every different state here in the US having different rules and regulations as to what they want to see from these crypto exchanges. So the US dollar falling in prevalence or in importance, we see a lot of countries starting to trade without the US dollar. The US is also regulating crypto, crushing crypto. Other countries are starting to gain more power from de-dollarization and from crypto moving there. Hong Kong is also calling cryptocurrency property. This is first that they're ruling this. We also have news that there's a new euro stablecoin just launched by French bank. So not only are we moving away from dollars, we're moving away from dollar-pegged stablecoins. Gemini joins Coinbase in offshore expansion. They're basically doing a crypto derivatives exchange, and that makes sense. It's really profitable to operate these derivatives exchanges and to have leverage. And they're doing this outside the US. Coinbase obviously got their Bermuda license and are planning to launch an exchange in the coming weeks. I think the US is really messing up here. I think obviously the US is a pretty big holder of Bitcoin. I think if they could just nurture the industry, they could just say or provide some kind of regulation instead of just crushing it. I think that would really help. I think that would give people a way out. I think Bitcoin is the way out because if there's de-dollarization, if some countries adopt Bitcoin, which they are, right? Maybe not legal tender yet in Ukraine, but maybe that's down the road too. But if certain countries move this way, Bitcoin is going to continue to gain in value. Unlike certain countries that have 104% inflation rate, Bitcoin is around 2%. And it's going to continue to become less and less over time. Bitcoin is going to be very valuable in the coming years. Through de-dollarization, through banks collapsing, through government oppression and government inflation, Bitcoin is going to stand through it. And I'm not saying the US dollar is going to crumble necessarily. I'm not saying that it's going to even crumble Even if it does crumble, I'm not saying it will crumble fast. I think it will probably be over a number of years where more and more countries just start to realize they don't need to rely on the US dollar as much. But what can everyone use that's not biased, right? No country holds all of it. No country controls the supply. And what is still secure? Bitcoin. So at this point, Saturday, it's a good day. Everyone's on the weekend. And Bitcoin is really showing why it's so valuable. Even if it's not moving up in price, it's continuously working, continuously producing more blocks, and something that you can rely on. Unlike just about everything else in life, Bitcoin will be around for a long time and will not be manipulated. Thank you so much for watching. Check out the links again underneath the video to Webull, moomoo, TradingView, Trezor, and to Patreon. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.